Well, here we are. It's the inaugural annual mock draft. Our first one with our new rebranding here is Over Under Football, Mike. But you and I, no stranger to mocks. We've done a fair few in our time.
Yeah, I think this is the third, or we may have done one other one as well, but we've certainly done quite a few down the years. And it's always a fun exercise. The length of time it takes is actually quite surprising when you actually sit and go through all the prospects. But we'll try and keep it concise and as interesting as possible. But I always think it's worth giving each of these players and each of these teams a bit of an explainer. Rather than just slapping a name up on a board, because that doesn't really mean anything. The context is key, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just go over the process briefly for the draft. So I'll be taking odd numbers. You'll be taking even number teams. Apart from when I take the Seahawks at 20, just because the Dolphins are missing a pick there. And you'll take the Eagles at 31 as they're your team, and I'll switch to the Chiefs for 32. Now, we're also going to do this from what the teams would do, from what we think the teams would do, but kind of based on our ranking as a players. So we're going to try and make this as accurate as possible. And yeah, throw in a few trades, maybe see where it goes. A lot of fun. We'll be using the Draft Network's mock draft simulator, as always, to do this. So yeah, anything else I've forgotten there, or is that the gist of it?
Well, no, I guess the only thing to say very briefly is there will be an element of our own rankings that inevitably goes into this. Obviously we want to try and be realistic as to what we think the teams will do. But at a certain point, when I've got two players closely, I'll probably go the edge over the player that I like more inevitably. So there will obviously be our spin on it as well, but we will try and keep it realistic. We're not going to be taking Bijan Robinson number 2 overall. I can assure you of that. So
All right.
Without further ado, I think we'll just get into it and we'll show the good people. TDN mock draft machine, as they call it. Here we are. We are live. I'll move us down a bit here because I need to see some of this stuff. So, yeah, we're paused currently, and first on the clock will be Thomas Matthews with the Carolina Panthers. So, I can pause this clock, Tom. So fear not.
Yeah.
If we're having a lengthy discussion over a trade or something, this clock will get paused. So that's probably the first thing to say. But without too much further ado, I think we'll officially open it up. I don't think it has a fun sound effect.
Oh, that's annoying. Oh, well.
No, it doesn't. Unlike the NFL.com fantasy football draft, it doesn't have a fun intro.
Yeah, that's fun. Saying you're now on the clock. Oh, well, we are on the clock. It's the Panthers. And just run it in, Mike, because it's Bryce Young, number 1 overall. Just a real competitor. And as this process has gone along, I think everyone's pretty much got him as their one now. Some might have had Stroud one before. Indeed, we did, maybe a month or so ago. The size is an issue, but it's what he can do outside the pocket and creating, as well as anticipation, that makes him the number 1 and really being the first guy in the building, which he's probably going to be for this team. And just the work he's going to put in. Football IQ is going to be massive with him. And I think that's really what separated him in this process, what we've seen. So that's a pretty nailed on number 1 there for me.
Yeah. I don't think we should belabor the point too much. I think I heard Daniel Jeremiah sort of say about him, that NFL.com draft analyst, that if Bryce Young was 3 inches taller, he'd compare him directly to Joe Burrow in terms of his skill set and what he's going to bring to a team as a leader. And he's going to have that sort of Jalen Hurts work ethic where he's at the facility every day at 5 a.m. and doesn't leave till midnight. That kind of crazy stuff you hear about. Yeah. You used to hear about Brady as well. So I think it's pretty straightforward pick. I don't think they've gone up for anybody else. I think this was always their guy. So yeah, as I say, we won't belabor that too much further.
Good.
Now, I should just pause this because we've gone into the Texans pick. We have to keep an eye on that, otherwise it'll be auto drafting for us, Tom, which will be a disaster.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm on the clock with the Houston Texans, and this is a difficult position. So if we look at their team needs here, Oh, well, that hasn't worked at all. Oh, no, that's because we're in draft class. Okay, so if we go into their team needs here, we can see that it's quarterback, obviously offensive tackle and edge. I'd say edge over offensive tackle. I think they've got good players at tackle, the Houston Texans. So I disagree with the draft network.
It's pretty much everything outside of tackle.
Yeah, basically, they need a lot of stuff.
So in this scenario, Bryce Young was their guy. He's gone first. So, all right, are we entertaining calls here for a trade? What's going on here with Houston?
So this is what I'm saying as the Houston Texans to you, Thomas, and any team that's listening, is I'm pretty confident here that there's a player that I want and I'm comfortable taking. What I am going to say, though, is if someone wants to, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to take him, let me be clear about that, but if someone wants to come up and offer me a mind-bending amount of picks, I'll consider it. Because you'd only be coming up for a quarterback here, and I'm going to make you pay the price. So I don't think there's any of my evens teams. I think the Lions just had a little hair of a sniff, but not really. Didn't explore it too much. The Colts are the big one. I got the feeling that Chris Ballard knows who he wants, and he's confident that player will be there at 4. So I think he's sitting pat. Even someone like the Eagles to come up and take a non-quarterback, they're not going to pay this price. So do you have anyone that's going to come and blow me away here, Tom?
I think the Raiders would be interested, but it just depends. I don't know. Are you interested in the trade, or are you selling, taking your guy?
I think I'd want 3 number 1 picks
for
you to come up. I think I'd want or either two number 1s and one of your better players, to be honest. So if that price is too steep to come up a few spots, then I think we can move on and I can make a pick.
I think the price would be a little too steep there. I'd probably offer a 1 and a 2 or a 1 and a 3 here in this draft. So yeah, I think that's for the talent that's left. No, let's calm that down then and make the pick.
Yeah, no, and look, it's a steep price, I know. The Texans may not view it this way. My view on it is simple. Like Lance Zierlein, NFL.com, started all of this hubbub about them not taking a quarterback here, saying that they don't want to be getting into bed with CJ Stroud's agent, who's the same agent that represented Deshaun Watson. I don't know. I think that would be crazy. I haven't seen any other strong indication from the Texans other than that reporting from Lance Zierlein, who admittedly is very plugged in Houston, apparently. I haven't seen a huge run on non-quarterback being picked here other than from Lance. So for me, the biggest need here you can see is quarterback. I think the biggest need, quite obviously on the roster, is quarterback. You cannot expect the fan base to keep coming to these games with the quarterbacks that they've got under center at the moment on the roster. I think it's an opportunity to get your franchise player. You don't want to be picking in the top 10 again, and we'll work to build around him. So I'm going to take CJ Stroud from Ohio State University. I'm going to plug him in there, and we're not going to worry too much more about it. That's going to be the pick.
Okay.
So I guess very briefly, we did take some time on that, but very briefly, we'll talk about Stroud. He should be fairly high up here. Yeah, he is. So yeah, as you can see there, 6'3", 214 pounds. Much more prototypically sized than Bryce Young. And in a lot of ways, I think he's a much more traditional quarterback than Bryce Young. I just came off today watching his tape versus Penn State from last year. And what you see is a player who's got incredibly good touch and is an effective player from the pocket, but doesn't improvise that well. And he doesn't move and make plays on the run in the way that the most successful recent NFL quarterbacks have done. So that's maybe why he's been separated to the number 2, but he's still an enormous improvement over Davis Mills and the rest of the quarterbacks there in Houston. And I think if you put him in the Shanahan style system, which is what they're going to be running down there, he's got the mobility to get out of the pocket and throw on the run. He just needs to improve his decision making when he does that. I think he could be a good fit for them, and I think he can be an effective signal caller. Do I think he's necessarily going to be a generational talent at quarterback? No, but that isn't necessarily how they're going to build this team. I think they're going to build it in the image of the 49ers, put a really big defense, and keep building on that offensive line and the skill players, and try and win with him on a rookie contract, and sort of see how it goes.
Okay. Yep, sounds good. Let's go into number 3 here, the Cardinals. So I think there's 2 quarterbacks taken now. Maybe some teams didn't think that would be the way it went. So I think the Raiders are going to look to do a trade with the Cardinals now, Mike.
Ooh, nice. There we go. So I'm calling it in, making a trade. So you are going to be the Raiders in this scenario, and you are going to be traded with it's just easier if I do it like this.
The Cardinals. So Cardinals are a team that need talent everywhere, so they're going to listen to this, I think, and take the picks where they can. And as you can see there, the Raiders with a lot of picks this year. So I'm definitely going to give them trade our round 1s, but also a round 2 there. And there could be a player involved in this trade. It depends what the Cardinals are talking about, but I think a round 1 and 2 is going to do this here to move up 4 places.
It's very likely. I think we'll go with it in this scenario. I think in real life, I think the Cardinals would push for something in 2024 as well. Maybe like a 3 or a pick swap in 2024, just because they need assets in the future. They know it's a 3-year rebuild under new head coach Jonathan Gannon. So, but I think just purely on the old Jimmy Johnson trade value metric, I think this is going to be, accepted here. So, what I'll do is close that, and then we just go in here as the Cardinals now accept that.
Yeah, good. I think the Raiders got a bit of a QB. I don't know. They got a little antsy, I think, when the Texans took Stroud too, and also the Texans rejected their trade. So I think the Raiders forced this issue, and they go up and take a QB. So the run is well and truly on here, and they're going to draft Will Levis out of Kentucky.
Oh my! Here we go.
Yeah, I think they're probably a bit more confident in Levis than Anthony Richardson, who would be the other prospect there. Just in terms of, I think the Raiders look at him and think, he looks like more of a prototypical quarterback who we can help to develop his game a bit more and potentially even play from the start, which is what he might be asked to do there, depending how the situation goes there in Oakland. So, the accuracy issues are a problem, but I think he's certainly, with his frame, his commitments and his toughness, I think he's more than worthy of being a 3rd round pick. As this process has gone on, we've got a little low on him maybe than we were at the start, but he was terribly injured in 2022, so it's a tough evaluation, Levis. I just think situationally, the Raiders makes sense for the Raiders here to go up and make this trade and just get their guy at QB.
Very nice. I mean, I would have slight-ish questions over the pick. I would probably go for a player with a bigger upside in Anthony Richardson here rather than Will Levis. But I can kind of see it. I can see him sitting for 2 years behind Garoppolo and really learning that complex New England style offense that they run up there now. That could give them a chance with the added sort of dynamism that McDaniel seems to be craving to form part of his offense, to give it an extra dimension. So it's an interesting pick, and it's really shaking things up here at the top of the NFL draft, Tom.
Yeah. It is the Raiders, so that's perhaps not totally unexpected.
The Raiders. Yeah. Okay, nice one. All right, well we're off and running then. So the Indianapolis Colts now find themselves on the clock, and as I alluded to earlier, I am representing Chris Ballard in this draft, and Chris Ballard has defiantly not taken a quarterback high in any of his draft classes since he's been the GM of the Indianapolis Colts. And his reasoning behind that is kind of mystifying. He says that as soon as he does that, it will put a clock on his job. And that he, in self-preservation almost, he's been forced not to take one. Now, I mean, that's just in crazy logic, and he's very much on his last chance now. I think ownership there are desperate for a young quarterback under center. I think Jim Irsay is going to force it this year. So they are left with no choice but to draft Anthony Richardson, AR-15, from the University of Florida. We'll pick him up there. We'll pause the clock because we've got something to talk about here with Anthony Richardson. So, yeah, no, I think his hand's been forced. I think it makes so much sense here for a lot of reasons, actually. So, Anthony Richardson, you can see the size. Probably the best athlete to come out play quarterback since Mike Vick. I think he's an even better athlete than Jalen Hurts or
Cam.
Yeah, Cam. Yeah, he's probably up there with Cam and Justin Fields, maybe, and then with Hurts slightly below them. I mean, I think he's the best out of all of them, just purely athletic. He's an absolute freak with better pocket presence than you would expect. I've seen 4 or 5 different games of him on the QB School hosted by JT O'Sullivan, and you can just see how much of the accuracy issues are based on footwork and then also scheme, how many deep shots they dialed up to take advantage of his big arm in their spread system. So I think if you got him in, worked on his fundamentals and got him playing in a more pro style system with some short, easy completions, I think he might be able to improve that, a la Josh Allen. And I think Shane Steichen, the new head coach, knows exactly what to do with this kind of quarterback, having worked with Jalen Hurts. Hurts, not the same kind of athlete as Richardson, but I think you could use them similarly. Just run the ball 60-70% of the time with Jonathan Taylor, and then read option with Anthony Richardson, and just play smash mouth and defense, which I think kind of suits Chris Ballard as a GM anyway. I don't think he wants to air it out and throw it 50 times a game anyway. So I think all of those boxes seem to be ticked for me. It all seems to align. So yeah,
that's nice. I think in the point about Steichen is very good there. You should be able to, if there's someone who can work with Richardson, it'll be him. And I think immediately the division's still up for grabs there. The AFC South is usually wide open. Anthony Richardson coming in a system like that makes them a lot more competitive than they are already. So yeah, it's a good call.
So that puts you, Tom.
Wonderful.
And Coach Pete Carroll on the clock.
Coach Pete.
And go on.
A lot of chaos has erupted with a run on quarterbacks here, and you know what? The Seattle Seahawks are pretty happy to be sitting here while all this is going on because they now have their pick. They're going to roll with Geno. Why not? They're not going to give up too much. They can draft a quarterback in the later rounds if they want, but that's fine. So they're going to have their pick of players here, and I'm going to give them probably the consensus best player.
Although, would they? There's no chance they would consider a trade here. There is no.
No, I don't think so. No. Too many needs on defense here, Mike. Too many needs on defense for the Seahawks. So I'm going to give them the best, probably the best defensive player.
I know what you're going to do, and it's killing me. Go on.
Yeah, it's going to be Jalen Carter here to the Seahawks at 5 overall. Why Jalen Carter? I think he is the best football player here on the board in terms of football skill. Massive character concerns. Pete Carroll is going to look at this as a personal challenge, probably, to try and turn the young man around. And if there's someone, it's probably going to be Pete Carroll, to be honest, who can do it. Will Richardson, Will Anderson, still on the board. But, as this process has gone on, people have maybe thought he's a bit of a vanilla prospect there. And Jalen Carter, I think, has more upside and can be a disruptive pass rusher down the middle, which is, the Seahawks need a lot. So that's what they are going to do here. They've got some help on the edge. They drafted a few guys who've done it right on the edge. So I think they just solidified the middle of that line and start building the defense from there.
Yeah, no, I can tell you I had one very interested party that would have made a swing with assets in this year's draft and next year's for Jalen Carter. But I understand. I think in real life, I think the Seahawks would pick the phone up, but I agree. I think with Jalen Carter staring you in the face there at number 5, I think it's quite a straightforward pick. That obviously goes on the basis that you and I know absolutely nothing about what that off the field incident was, other than the what was reported in the media of teams. If they have any doubt whatsoever, I imagine at number 5 would pass on him. So that will be the interesting thing. If Carter starts getting down to like number 9 here with the Chicago Bears, then you know something really serious has happened and he might have a really big slide. I'm telling you right now, if he had got to number 7 here, the Philadelphia Eagles would have been trying to make a call 100% to come up. So yeah, I think for me personally, his absolute flaw, the worst he could do, Jalen Carter, is 9. I think the Bears will take it at 9 and stop the run. Anyway, I digress. So, Detroit Lions on the clock at number 6. They would probably entertain a trade here with Carter going off the board and one of the future prospects quarterback going off the board to sit behind Jared Goff for a couple of years. Anthony Richardson might have been a really appealing fit for this team. I, however, don't think they are going to take a trade here. I can tell you that a couple of my teams were just tentatively inquiring here. They've been rebuffed. I don't think they're really there. They've put the phone down there. They're tired of this now. They just want to make a selection, the Lions. I'm going to go biggest need for me on this team is secondary. Lions secondary was atrocious last year. They've added free agents, although they have traded former first-round pick Jeff Okudah away to the Atlanta Falcons, which does mean there is now a spot in that backfield available. And I think they go for my number 1 corner overall and the best corner in the class for me, someone that loves to bite kneecaps, as Dan Campbell likes. And fortunately, that's he's quite low to the ground, short of stature, so he'll be able to get to those kneecaps even easier.
Excellent call.
Devon Witherspoon out of the University of Illinois. We've spoken in this process, Tom, about Witherspoon. We know the knocks on him. We've heard it all at this point. You can see there, Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon is the higher rated prospect. Witherspoon.
Well,
number 9.
I don't know about that.
Well, yeah, look, it's in the eye of the beholder. For example, today I heard Ross Tucker, a former NFL offensive lineman, now an analyst, describe Witherspoon as slow, small, and people run past him. So why is he being drafted in the top 10?
That'll be due to him coming from Illinois, probably, Mike.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it just goes to show the discourse around the draft and how heated it gets at this time of the year, and it just gets a little bit muddled, to be honest. I don't think Devon Witherspoon was frequently run past. Play speed is an issue. Didn't time brilliantly in the 40-yard dash. I think he ran a 4.52, something like that. But the Detroit Lions absolutely love man-to-man coverage. They run a ton of man-to-man zero. And Witherspoon can start day 1 on the nickel if they want him to, just to ease him in, or without tackling as well from the nickel spot. I think that would be precocious. You could blitz him from there. I just think he can play some safety for you in some packages, in sub packages. I think he's a really interesting player, and I think Dan Campbell will love that attitude. I think he could be a future team captain for you. He's that kind of player. So I don't think the Lions, unless somebody comes up with I think unless Jalen Carter's there, I think that would be the only person they would consider other than Witherspoon. I think he might be nailed on for that pick.
That's a really good pick. I like it. Keep him in the Midwest. We saw, the last year, the Houston Texans got the cornerback wrong. They chose the wrong cornerback first, purely because he was from a bigger school. I mean, that's really the only reason. I love the pick ahead of Christian Gonzalez there. Just to have to shout that out.
Okay, well, in all that excitement, we do have now. This is interesting now because you've traded down once with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Have they got
I
any?
mean,
Have they got any interest? Have they got any interest in trading down again? Just adding more. For me, the Arizona Cardinals, right? I'm not trying to talk you into this, Tom.
yeah.
Just in my honest opinion, I was looking through rosters the other day, and I think Arizona Cardinals is the worst roster in the NFL, personally.
Yeah, they've got no one. They need positions everywhere.
Maybe the Rams.
I mean, yeah. Again, I think it'll take a lot, but I think the phone is ringing. There's every edge rusher is still on the board here, so that's a consideration. But yeah, it depends. If you have a team that wants to trade up, I think we're welcome to it.
I do. Yeah, I do. Okay. So I've got Howie Roseman on the phone, Thomas. We know Howie loves to trade. And he's not coming up for a quarterback, so there's no need to tax him too hard here. Let's make this a friendly negotiation. You have to bust my balls here, Tom.
Well, the Eagles have 2 first-rounders.
Eagles and Cardinals. You can forget about the second first rounder. That is not part of this equation. I can tell you that now. No, but seriously though, this is how these conversations will go. So is it just off the table if you can't have both the ones?
No. I was just playing devil's advocate.
But look, Tom, it's your prerogative. You're the general manager of the Wobegon.
It's going to be important for Arizona to stay in the top 10 here. So we obviously want the round 110, and then probably a 2. I'd say would do this. Yeah.
And then I think it's saying very likely to be accepted. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it would be that easy.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do, the Eagles have 4 compensatory picks coming in 2024 because we lost so many good free agents this year. So we're probably going to have 3 third rounders in 2024, which don't show on this mock draftable thing yet. So I'm going to say we'll give you 3 in 24 as well, and let's just sweeten this pot, make it as attractive and realistic as possible. The Eagles don't lose too much this year, other than their 2. And they just move up slightly in the first round. So
yeah, perfect. That's absolutely 100% good for the Cardinals here, who just need to roster build like there's no tomorrow. So they're going to accept that. And interested to see who you're going to go for here, Mike, with your Eagles hat on.
Yeah. So it's I continue to see Bijan Robinson being mocked to the Eagles at 10. Continues to frustrate me. That as much as I would love to see it as a fan, I also have to be pragmatic, and there is no way that Howie will do it, number 1, and it's just not good roster management, number 2. Yeah. You've got Jalen Hurts has just signed the biggest deal in NFL history. His cap hits are manageable for 2 years, but after those first 2 years, you're going to have to start constructing a roster the way that the Chiefs have done it, with low impact guys low cost guys that you draft yourself, that you hit on. And the easiest way to hit on players is to take them in the top 10. And the players that you take in the top 10 are players that help the quarterback, or they're players that affect the other team's quarterback. The Eagles' O-line is a sneaky need for the Eagles, losing a couple of backups and 1 starter on their offensive line. But they don't overcomplicate this. They're looking at edge rusher. They were the team that wanted to come up for Jalen Carter, as you probably surmised at the time. But they're going to keep this very simple. They've had him in for a pre-draft visit. I know for a fact it's going to be Will Anderson Jr. from the University of Alabama. He's the newest member of the Philadelphia Eagles. So
stay true to what the Eagles do there and take a lineman in the first round.
Yeah, it'll be a lineman. It'll be a lineman, or it'll be a defensive back. It won't be. And I think Witherspoon would probably be their pick at DB over Gonzalez. So he's already off the board. I think, to be honest, though, Will Anderson, I think, along with Jalen Carter, is the apple of their eye anyway. Not the most naturally gifted edge rusher that you've ever seen. He's not gonna absolutely blow you away athletically, although he is explosive off the ball, as Brugler notes here. He is very good off the ball. And get off is the biggest thing in playing on the defensive line in the NFL. He was just extremely productive, tackles for loss, sacks. He immediately comes in as defensive end 3/4 for the Eagles. He doesn't have to start. He can come in and play sub packages. I've heard nothing but good things about his character, which is another huge thing that I know the Eagles value in these selections, especially in the first round. And they didn't have, in the grand scheme, they didn't have to give up too much to get it with all the picks they've got next year, and a chance to potentially trade down again this year to acquire more capital for 2022, 2023. I think it makes a hell of a lot of sense for the Eagles here. And for me, it's a little bit of the case of the rich getting richer. I know I'm biased, but I think that's how.
No, it's yeah. I mean, it's what they've done. They've got an absolute bevy of pass rushes there, and going to continue that. 34 sacks, I believe, in his college career there. So wonderful production. As I said before, people have been getting a bit down on him, thinking he's maybe not an elite pass rushing prospect, which he probably isn't, but he's still a top 10 in this year's class. So that, yeah, that's a move that makes a lot of sense to me there. I like that trade.
Great. Okay. So
you're on the clock again there, Mike. I'm just going to run to the loo because I've had all this coffee, but feel free to go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So Tom is assuming I'm not making a trade here or looking for him to make a trade, and he is correct. The Atlanta Falcons are going to sit and pick here. They are in a position where actually I think they're actually building a decent roster. I like what they're doing. Quarterback is obviously still a need with Desmond Ridder as QB1 there. I think they're going to give him this year, and I think they're in a position where they're just quite happy to take the best player that falls to them at number 8. If we have a look at their needs here, the Atlanta Falcons, you can see it thinks defense at all 3 levels, really: interior, defensive line, edge, and cornerback. I think as much as they'd like a running mate for their good defensive tackle here, the Falcons, I think probably what they will do is a look at the board and they will see that they have a elite cornerback on the board. And I think the pick here for the Falcons will be Christian Gonzalez out of the University of Oregon.
Oh yes, that's a great pick there. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was just making the point, Tom, that you could have gone edge potentially, but with Will Anderson off the board, it's I mean,
yeah, I think that's the next best player overall defensively, certainly. So there's no qualms there.
Yeah, and look, the Falcons, they've got Terrell in there at defensive back already, which is which makes for a really good 1-2 punch, which I think you need in the modern NFL at cornerback. So that gives them AJ Terrell, Christian Gonzalez. They can lock down, play some man coverage with just one safety in the middle of the field, bring another guy into the box, play the run more effectively, makes their whole defense better.
Yeah.
And if Desmond Ridder makes some strides this year, they could be in. I've got a sneaky feeling about the Falcons. I think they're making a serious run at the NFC South this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got to be honest with you, Tom. Until this morning, I was seriously considering taking Bijan Robinson there.
Yeah, well, I mean, goodness, I just saw him on the list there and thought, well, the team picking next might be interested in him. Good goodness.
Yeah, I mean, he's my number 2 player overall, so it is killing me to keep dropping him down. But we've got to keep this realistic. I just don't see him going in the top 10.
No, they're not. I mean, they're tempted, I think, absolutely. I mean, they just traded David Montgomery away, so they do need help there. But I think you can get a like-for-like replacement in the 3rd round for him, to be honest. So the Chicago Bears, they're another team that's just super excited with the way things have fallen here, Mike, because they've got that pick of offensive linemen. And my word, I'm going to give them the best overall lineman in this class, certainly for us, how we graded this thing. You got an offensive tackle there. To the right, about midway through.
There it is. I just couldn't find it. Yeah, there it is.
Okay, I'm going to give him Peter Skoronski here at Northwestern, who's for me the best tackle on the board in terms of able to do it all. They can also kick him to guard if it doesn't work out, but I like the fit here. He's a Midwestern guy. He's got just coming down the road there from Northwestern to go play to Chicago. I think it's a really good fit for them. What the Bears need to do is protect the quarterback, and he's a guy who's going to be able to do that. Now maybe his run blocking skills aren't as elite as some of the other tackles in this prospect, but that's not a consideration. You've got to keep Justin Fields upright. I think Northwestern have proven they can produce good tackles, certainly from Rashawn Slater, who we spoke about before, comparing him to Skoronski. Just a nicely polished tackle here, certainly deserving of a top 10 pick, and that's a good fit for them.
Yeah, no, love Skoronski. I think he'd be an okay to good offensive tackle. I think he can be an all-pro at guard. And I have two thoughts on this pick. Number one, his name escapes me now, but the Bears drafted an offensive tackle in the 5th round who started every game for them at left tackle. So that means you kick Skoronski straight into left guard. They made a couple of signings.
They also have Tevin Jenkins, who's made some good strides. They're very useful right tackle.
Right tackle. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, guard would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've got a couple of new additions through free agency as well. So you've really got a solid 5 in front of Justin Fields now. With DJ Moore on the outside, things are really starting to come together for the Chicago Bears here. I think they're just doing an excellent job at team building the last couple of years. And the very quick tidbit I wanted to say about that as well is Skoronski's grandfather used to play for the Green Bay Packers, the hated rival of the Chicago Bears. He is a lifelong Green Bay Packer fan, Tom. So you've just caused absolute carnage in the Skoronski household there.
That's great.
He becomes a Chicago Bear.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the Packers would have been considering him given their needs. So yeah, the Bears happy to get in there and snipe him away. Ooh, now what's going on here? The Cardinals in this traded pick. You got to pick. Someone's got to pick for the Cardinals eventually, Mike. It's going to be you.
Oh no, it's going to be you, Tom. No, it's still your pick. You're still the general manager. Please.
Oh, I see. Yes. Okay. Right. Well, this is a no-brainer here. It's going to be Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech.
Unbelievable. What? I mean, if this honestly, they've already won the draft, haven't they? I mean, brilliant.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, that you could be coming over the best edge rusher of this class. That he may well end up that way. And yeah, you've got 3 picks now in the 2nd round pick. I mean, that's just great work from the Cardinals, who need all the help they can get, as we've said. And in Tyree Wilson here, this is a player, as the process has gone on, people have watched this film, they've said, wow, this guy's a serious edge rusher. I think from where he came from initially, Texas Tech, people might have written him off. I mean, they don't really play defense down there, but certainly as he's gone through the testing process, people have said, wow, the size is incredible, his motor's excellent, and he can play the run and play the pass just as well. So in terms of a 4 technique, just a traditional defensive end here in the 4-3, I think he's going to do really well.
Yeah, and he has condensed as well to come into play some 3 technique, some 4-eye head up over the tackle. He's got some as well as probably better athletic traits than Anderson and slightly more length. He does have some power in his body as well. He just, as you say, it's the strength of competition that he's been playing against, and also just, I think, refinement, more of a pass rush plan that's meant he's slipped down here for us. But it's not for the lack of trying for him there. I think it's I think he's an excellent prospect, and yeah, as I say, the Cardinals too early to call them draft winners from me, getting a bit carried away there, but ridiculous value to get all of those extra picks for them as well. Now this puts you and the Tennessee Titans on the clock for your 3rd pick in the row, Tom. Living La Vida Loca here for the.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I'm getting a bit worn out. I'm lucky I had that bathroom.
But I tell you what, looking at this board as it stands now, I think this worked absolutely perfectly for the Titans, didn't it?
It did, yeah. You might have an inkling of who I'm going to go with here, Mike. The Titans, they need help all around. They've been in disarray, but they've got a new general manager in, and he wants to put his stamp on this franchise. So he's going to look to the quarterback position here for Tennessee, and he's gonna go and give them an in-state hero at the quarterback position to sit behind Ryan Tannehill maybe for a year. The Titans are going to take Hendon Hooker here at 11. And actually, Mike, I thought I was alone on this, but I saw a mock come out this week that actually did have this as a potential pick. So I'm not alone. And I think the Titans, they've had enough of Tannehill's antics or lack of production, for want of a better word. And they're going to go with their in-state guy here from the University of Tennessee and get a nice quarterback prospect in.
Wow, that is an absolute barnstormer of a pick. That is madness. Can you imagine if that happened? Can you imagine?
Oh yeah,
that
papers would be flying in the air.
It would be absolute carnage. I can tell you there is no way I thought Hendon Hooker was going in the first round of this draft. I love everything you're saying about the in-state hero stuff, but wow, crazy. Tell us why he's been taken at 11, Tom, because he was a talented player.
Yeah, he was very talented. As it says there, they had a very quarterback-friendly offense, but he's certainly got very good size and very good anticipation throwing in the intermediate routes. Now, he struggles to throw the long ball. His long ball looks a little loopy, but the Tennessee Titans, that's not really how they formed this offense. It's more, I think he's kind of like a Tannehill in a way. I just think he's probably got a bit more moxie about him, a bit more football IQ, actually. I think he's a guy who's interviewed extremely well as this process has gone along, and a lot of teams are a lot higher of him than people may think, to be honest. So I think he's going to be a good fit there. As I said, this organization wants to put their stamp on the team with this new management in here and draft themselves the hometown quarterback.
Wow, things happening on the over-under 2023 mock draft special. That was right out of left field there from you, Tom. I always have my eye on you, and I always know something's a brewing here.
Something's slightly awry.
Yeah.
All right. So after all that, we come back to the Texans here, who've got yet another pick. My goodness.
Yeah. Now I've got to be honest with you. I had this pretty well penciled down as a trade down spot for me, to be honest. But I don't know now. I mean, I've got a couple of different thoughts on what they could do here, the Texans. I mean, Miles Murphy is an excellent player. Having the Draft Network having him as their 5th player overall is extremely rich for my blood. I would probably have him in my top 20 as opposed to my top 10. So as much as he appeals, there is a need on the edge. I think
offensive skill position.
I think what you need to do with a young quarterback is help a young quarterback. They have two good starting offensive tackles. Skoronski's off the board. If Skoronski was there at 12, they'd take him and play him at guard.
Yeah.
What I think they're going to do is take the highest floor wide receiver, and for me, my number 1 wide receiver in this draft. And we're going to go with Jackson Smith-Njigba from The Ohio State University there at 12.
Oh wow! Pair him up with his old buddy.
Yeah.
Great pick.
Do the nasty. Do the thing. Get them together with, just like Chase and Burrow in Cincinnati. We're going to get Jackson and CJ together.
It's a fashionable move these days to do that. So it's, I 100% see this happening.
Yeah. So I mean, what the interesting thing is that normally, as you say, conventional wisdom is to build the offensive line, and that hasn't changed as you just said. As I keep saying, though, the Texans' offensive line is fine.
I'm with you. I didn't see that as a need for them going into this. So yeah.
No, I don't see it as a need. So I just think Smith-Njigba has an ability in his rookie season to be a high volume slot receiver. He can be a 100-catch player in his rookie year for me, assuming he's fully recovered from that hamstring injury that kept him out of most of last season. I think he slides straight into this lineup. And I think he gives you a safety blanket with the upside of potentially being able to become a Z receiver in the mold of not to the same level as, but in the mold of Justin Jefferson, who started off as exclusively a slot player. Cooper Kupp started out exclusively as a slot player, and then they expanded their game to do other things. So for me, I just think it makes a lot of sense, and build around your franchise quarterback.
Yeah, that's a really good decision there. Now you've taken the quarterback, you've got to give them some help there. I mean, their receivers, if we're looking at the moment, I can't even list the Texans receiver off the top of my head. Maybe Brandon Cooks, but he was requesting a trade last year.
They traded him. They traded him to the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah,
that was it. Okay, so I mean, yes, I'm totally immune to what's going on there because there's just nothing happening in that wide receiver room. So yeah,
they got John Mechie from Alabama, who was very promising for them, and then got hurt. So you've got So yeah, I mean, look, Mechie is a good player, not a great player. He's a very raw prospect. So receiver help needed here. So that puts the Jets on the clock. And I don't know, Tom, are they giving this pick away in the Aaron Rodgers deal? What's happening? Tell me.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, maybe we could do that, but I mean, they're already one position away. Maybe they do, but for the sake of this, I'm not sure we do the trade right now. We just stay pat here with the New York Jets. If you could bring up their team needs, that would help me because there's quite a few options I might go with there. I think they would have been looking at Smith and Jigba actually to be a nice piece there for that offense, a genuine slot. But he's off the market now. So,
I mean, there's
offensive tackle. Again, is it a need? Mekhi Becton seems to be coming all right these days. Now that he's sorted himself out a bit.
Injuries, I think, Tom. Injuries. Injuries are the problem there with Becton. And you don't know if Duane Brown's coming back. He's kind of been a bit, is he going to retire? Okay. So I think those two things combined have got people very worried about offensive tackle for the Jets.
Yeah, that's fair enough. This is going to be tough. This is a tough one here. We could also see a few edge players that you could potentially give to the Jets, but I just don't know if I rate the remaining tackles high enough to take him here. This is going to be tough. All right, with the Jets here.
Were you just sure Jackson Smith and Jigba was going to be there?
Yeah, I really was. This really thrown me here. I was in my last mock. That's where I mocked him, so I didn't really have a backup. I've always struggled with this pick. So
this is a tough one. It's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna. We'll give him an offensive tackle then, but I'm not sure they'd be too happy about this. But I think we'll give him the next best offensive tackle. The safest pick here is probably going to be Paris Johnson Jr. But you're potentially getting a top 10 player here, depending how he pans out. But I think that's good enough value for them at 13 there to draft. A very assured pass blocker. Again, it has to be either, for me, it was probably going to be tackle or receiver here. So giving Aaron Rodgers help when he eventually gets there. And I think Paris Johnson is certainly good enough to do that.
Yeah. I just realised I hadn't even brought him up on the to give you the lowdown on Paris Johnson. 3-year starter at Ohio State University. Played in big games. Played at guard, and played at left tackle. So he gives you some versatility. If Duane Brown and Mekhi Becton come back fit and healthy, and you want to slide Paris Johnson in at right guard, you can do that because he played. He was a second-team All-American at right guard. So. He's very versatile prospect. I know, for example, if all of the edges are off the board in the top 10, I think the Eagles would be looking at Paris Johnson at 10. That's how highly considered he is. So I think it's a really sound pick from you there. I know you got thrown through a bit of a loop there with Smith and Jigba being off the ball, but I think they've been looking at Broderick Jones falling to them there, and I think they'd probably be happier with Paris Johnson. So I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you don't want to reach for a receiver there either because their receiver options are fine as is. The Jets, with some potential still there. untapped. So
at the risk, at the risk of teasing too much what's to come in this draft. I mean, I can see that the Draft Network have Quentin Johnston as their 17th overall player. I only have a second round grade on Quentin Johnston. So, I mean, I think you'd really be reaching for a receiver there. So I think you did well there. Take the trench player and just be happy with it. Get the hell out of Dodge and try and get the Packers to bite on 2 2s for Rodgers rather than the 1. Okay, so I think trying to put yourself in the head of Bill Belichick might be one of the most difficult things to do in draft media, I think, Tom. I didn't envy my own task here of trying to get this pick correctly. I have some thoughts. I think the odds of me accurately predicting what the New England Patriots are going to do is almost 0, was the conclusion I came to. So I'm just going to do something that makes sense. They have shown a propensity to take big nasties in the first round, either on the defensive side or on the offensive side. And they have also shown a big propensity to trade down. As things stand, I haven't got any of my teams banging the door down here for a player. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to go for what I think is my biggest need. The McCourty brothers are now safely shepherded out of the door here in New England.
Wheeled out.
After putting on quite the performance, 10, 15-year run that McCourty's had there or something like that, at least for McCourty. So that leaves them with a little bit of a hole, shall we say, on the back end of that defense. That Bill Belichick abhors a vacuum on the back end of his defense. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to go and give him Brian Branch from the University of Alabama. The number 1 overall safety in this year's draft. And as we alluded to in our pre-draft process, an absolute tackling machine. Does not miss tackles, which will appeal to old Bill. And smart as hell, tough as nails, doesn't test quickly, ran the same 40 time as Ed Reed, interestingly, Tom, who was a complete bust in the first round as the NFL draft. Too much being made of Brian Branch's 40 time. I think he's an outstanding player. The Patriots love safe players. They love hitting doubles, as the baseballing term goes. And Brian Branch is about as safe as it gets for them because he comes from Alabama, and they'll have the inside scoop from Nick Saban on what a brilliant player Brian Branch is. Don't overthink the 40 time, I'm sure, is the message. So, any thoughts on that before we move on?
No, I love the connection there. Saban's been talking him up all this time and just slots right in perfectly as a starter very comfortably. I love that pick, actually. I was wondering where you were going to go there, and that makes the most sense, actually. You probably got the most chance of getting that right with that one.
Yeah, so we're rapidly approaching. We're coming up to the halfway point where I think we're going to take a brief interval, Thomas. So the Green Bay Packers, though, will be on the clock before we do that. Would you like to see their needs? Because I've done absolutely no research on what the Packers are looking to do here, and I'm none the wiser, really. So over to you, Tom, definitely.
Yeah, it would be quite hilarious, I think, if they took a receiver here, just to kind of, now that Rodgers is gone. I think that's
as a proper one of these, as a proper
that's what like a lot of NFL media has been talking up lately, but I'm not sure it's that much of like a Hollywood story as people want it to be. Like, now we've got a receiver. I think it's the draft, so I want to approach this from a logical perspective, and I do think they need a bit of help on the offensive line. There's a bit of an aging offensive line there, and I mean, you could go tight end here. I'm not sure if they want to take a tight end this early off the board. So I'm going to give him a offensive lineman who's a very good run blocking offensive lineman, which is what they're going to have to do here with Jordan Love. They're going to have to let their double running back tandem run the ball a lot, road grade, get some play action working. So if you go to offensive tackle there,
I know where you're going with this. I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him Darnell Wright, the boy out of Tennessee here. Now, I don't. They could choose a receiver. Okay, I just think as we discussed, this receiver class is very. I think a lot of people have very different ratings on them, and I'm not sure the Packers are going to go there, even though it is their biggest need. Maybe Quentin Johnson, maybe, but let's just give him the best run blocking tackle in this class, a huge man who can absolutely road grade like very few people can to come out in recent years. And as I said, they've got an aging offensive line there. Now that Rodgers is gone, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with those guys? That some of them might just throw the towel in. Let's be honest. So I think he makes perfect sense for what they want to do on offense. Plug and play right tackle, and as I said, there some teams have him as a guard as well. But I think at that size, he's a starting right tackle from day one here.
I love this pick. I love it. I love getting bigger on the offensive line, more powerful on the offensive line for a young quarterback, for a running game. Elite running game with your play caller and running backs in place in Green Bay. I absolutely love it. Interestingly, I heard Bakhtiari, their starting left tackle, came out the other day and sort of said something along the lines of, "Well, we know they're going to do what they're going to do. The Packers, they're not trying to win now." Clearly upset with Rodgers being allowed to walk out the door. So you might have a need at left tackle sooner than you want. So
yeah.
And we've seen recent years teams stacking up on the offensive line never goes awry in the NFL, and I think that's a great pick for them there at number 15 overall. So yeah, just before the halftime break here, we've got the Washington Commanders on the clock.
Time to take command of the draft.
I have noticed that I've got 3 of the 4 NFC East teams, which is rather serendipitous, as I'm fairly familiar with their rosters.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have a brief browse of their needs, because I've got a player here that I think has suffered enough, Tom, through this process.
Yeah.
I think what you're looking at here in the Washington Commanders is one of the most old school head coaching and coaching staffs in the NFL. One of the most old school, Marty Hurney, a load of former NFL GMs filling up that front office there. It's like jobs for the boys in Washington under Dan Snyder, or it has been down the years. And that leads me to think that they would really struggle to allow the best running back of the last 50 years to slide beyond them here at 16 and into the laps of Detroit Lions at 18, who, if the Commanders have aspirations of being a playoff team, they don't want to see him in the blue of Detroit, who, if he had made it to 18, I definitely would have picked for them. So what we're going to do is we're going to end his misery here. Bijan Robinson comes off the clock at 16 for Ron Rivera. Absolute generational talent. I mean, there isn't too much more you have to say. He can line up in the backfield, in the slot. He's a freakish talent. I'm trying to see where have they got him. I've gone beyond him. Where have they? Blimey, he's only down at 6 for Dane Brugler there. My goodness. He is a frightening runner. I think he's barely scratched the surface. I think he's only 22 years of age, Tom. I think he's going to come in due to the injury woes of the likes of Barkley and Henry. I think Bijan Robinson may come in and be the best back in the NFL in his rookie season. And in that the Commanders are not married to Brian Robinson. He's a good number 2. He's not a number 1. They have the young man out of Memphis. His name has completely escaped me.
Antonio Gibson.
You can't hold on to the football. He was actually put in the doghouse by Ron Rivera last year for fumbling too often. So I think that might be the last we see of Gibson in a Commander's uniform. Bijan Robinson comes in, despite glaring needs all over their roster. This is, to be clear, this actually is one definitely I would not do for the Commanders. I think Commanders will do. So that's a really
good point there. getting a few shots in at the front office as well. So yeah, all in all, a good pick for you. And I think that I absolutely see that as something they would do. There, it's set up well for him. He could have the most yards rushing. It's a good offensive line there, old school kind of offense. So yeah, absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, definitely old school. Yeah. Right. Well, I think then we will take a momentary pause here, Tom, and we'll reconvene in about 5 minutes, and we'll come to the back half of this draft. More trades and shenanigans in the works, I'm sure.
Yeah, sounds good. So now I'm on the clock with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think, Mike, this one is going to be the Hollywood pick that the NFL media want here, because as you see, position need there is cornerback, and they have the son of one of their stars hanging around there, Joey Porter Jr. I have Keely Ringo ahead of Joey Porter Jr. In terms of ability, but I just don't see them passing on him because of the connection here, and a lot of these guys have him ahead in terms of their rankings. So everyone values these guys differently. But yeah, I think Joey Porter Jr., 13th overall player for the Draft Network. So the Steelers are happy to get him there. They could solidify their secondary a little bit, and it's a Steelers, so a defensive player there makes a lot of sense for me.
Well, also it's the Steelers, and nepotism is kind of their thing. They like a Watt. They like a Hayward down there. They like picking.
Just pause the draft. Don't forget to pause it.
No, I won't. No. They picked a quarterback that practiced at their facility. They like a bit of nepotism in Pittsburgh, I must say. And keeping him as well as obviously a Pennsylvania Nittany Lion there.
Yeah. Now I think he's going to excel in zone coverage, as we spoke about before, and I think his physicality is the main thing that's going to fit. Good size on Porter. Coverage, probably not my pick for man coverage in this class. So I just use him, in the zone and with his eyes on the quarterback and helping out on the run game there. So yeah, as I said, he has clear bust potential with his undisciplined play style. So it is a risky pick. Not probably what I do there, but I do think the Steelers go with him there.
Yeah. No, and it does ruin one of the funner storylines that I would have liked to have seen at some point in some mock draft, the Ravens taking him, which would just be Joey Porter Sr. would be absolutely seething with that outcome. He'd have to go and wear the black and purple on a Sunday afternoon, which would be quite the sight to see. Absolute lunatic there, Joey Porter Sr. Not someone you want to meet down alley, that's for sure.
With your gutted Bijan Robinson, isn't there? I have to say the Lions might have been planning he was going to fall to them, but it wasn't the case.
No, and look, I would be. I think like a lot of people, I'm sort of secretly a Lions fan now. I love the Lions. I love everything about what they're building there. And Bijan Robinson in that offense would be absolutely terrifying. I think the only offense that he would be scarier in is potentially the Eagles offense. But that it is terrifying, the thought of him playing there. Anyway, we'll see what happens on draft night. As for this scenario, I think for me, this is a perfect marriage of need and where the player is available. And it's not a glaring need, but it gives them depth and it gives them diversity in their pass rush, and that's going to be Myles Murphy from University of Clemson. He has fallen a little bit further than the Draft Network would have expected him to as their 5 overall player, but he is he's not an elite bender, but he's a very powerful classic 4-3 defensive end that's probably at this stage of his career better against the run than the pass. But he does offer some pass rush upside, tested unbelievably well at the combine. So you know that he's got it in there. You know he's got the athleticism, and he has decent get off as well. So you'll be banking on him working with Aiden Hutchinson there in a 1-2 punch on that defensive front. Really, and with the addition of Singletary as well and the other defensive backs they signed, you have to say this is an overhauled unit now for the Lions, and I think their fans will be pretty happy with this outcome, these 2 picks in the first round. Yeah,
really good. They probably had to go defense with both. solidify the rush and the secondary there. So that's, I really like that. And as you said, I think it's good value. He's a highly rated player for some. So he's someone who's going to come in and contribute straight away there. And really help him out. That's nice. The Lions, really up and coming now.
Yeah, now you see me and Brudler there. I've got him similarly ranked in the sort of the 20 region. That's where I most commonly see him mocked. So, falls into the laps of the Lions there, and we'll see how he does. And Detroit puts you back on with your very own Bay Buccaneers.
Oh, wow. Now let's, can you bring up team needs for the Bucks, please, Mike? Because I've got an idea where I want to go here, but I just want to double check.
Yeah, it's always good to double check.
Cornerback, running back, edge, safety,
Do you know what's a sneaky need for them? His sneaky need is offensive line. Wirfs may well have to come off an injury and move over to left tackle because they lost Donovan Smith now. So,
okay.
Just putting that out. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, I think they might be looking for interior defensive line, but I think they're pretty happy with what they've got. So,
not a good draft for interior defensive line.
For me, true. There's no more cornerbacks that I would consider here at this stage. I'm going to go edge, and I'll give him Lucas Van Ness here from Iowa.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. They need to help the pass rush there, and I think he'll easily do that. He seems like a guy who's going to come in and contribute. Not proven that much at the college level, but I think as this process has gone on, he's another one who's really endeared himself to people. Huge size there, and actually number 10 on the Athletics. So that's really good value for the Bucks there to get probably a starting pass rusher in the league. Yeah, no,
he's a really interesting player. Famously never started a game for Iowa because they only start seniors. So he would always allow the old men to get a couple of snaps first, and then he would basically come in and play the rest of the game. He's a really interesting player. He might be better on the inside as a 3-tech in sub packages, and then just play the run on the edge on first down rather than getting after the quarterback as a bendy edge. He doesn't really bend, and even though he has massive hands, he's got an outlier in terms of how big his hands are, which I thought was really interesting. I've done a lot of research on Van Ness because he's been mocked. He's been mocked to the Eagles at 10, an infuriating amount, and I'll tell you why. Because the Eagles prioritize explosive athleticism and the jumps, the broad and the vertical jump, where he was not good, Van Ness, in the vertical jump or the horizontal jump. And he only had 17 reps on the bench as well. So he's not an overwhelmingly powerful player, but he is long. He's rangy, and he definitely is he definitely has some pass rush technique to him as well, being in that Iowa defense for the amount of time that he was. So I think it's a really good pick for you there. I think either him or Broderick Jones, either one would have been a quality pick to reinforce the trenches for them here.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. The Seahawks.
This
is my one, isn't it?
Yeah, this is your one. Now, I've got the most. So I've got two things I'd like to say to you here. Number one, I have a trade up potential from an evens team, if you'd like to hear it. Number two, I also know a player that is not on the consensus, that's not on the Draft Network's big board up here. Why is he not? Blimey, they're low on him. I've just found him down there. There's such a Seahawks player that's still on the board here as well that I could see them taking on defense. So what are your thoughts, Tom?
I think the Seahawks would be interested in the trade opportunity. Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking about them earlier, and I haven't really got a superb fit for them here. So let's hear
it. Okay. I totally understand where you're coming from. I think they would jump at Nolan Smith here potentially. Edge out of Georgia. He's like to play Sam linebacker in that system, much like Bruce Irvin did, undersized but athletic. I could see that being a pick. But if they want, this is a fun scenario though, because they want to They want to
Oh
accrue.
yeah,
They want to
I think
accrue,
they'll trade with an AFC team. Absolutely,
and they'll
this is
trade with
this
an
is next
AFC
one.
team. And
Yeah,
Buffalo are throwing the kitchen sink at this thing now. They keep getting into the
interesting.
playoffs. They keep being the darlings of the regular season, and they keep coming up against a brick wall in the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
So we're going to get them on the clock, and
Okay.
well, we're going to get them. We're going to get them on the clock here if we can. We're going to give you one, maybe 60. Yeah, just the 1 and the 2, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then yeah, it might leave Buffalo a bit light in the pants this year in terms of I'm just wondering maybe the 3. Okay, the 3 will still do it. That feels more likely to me. They're not going to give up 60 to move up 8 spots in the first round. That feels a bit rich.
Yeah.
So we'll just give you 92 here, and we'll move up those. Oh, blimey. We'll move up those 8 spots. I'm going to stay on the line while the Seahawks are evaluating. I know what they're going to say though.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know a player that the Buffalo Bills would be very interested in here with all of their weaponry.
Yeah.
Josh Allen being just the absolute freak of nature that he's become. There's something that I think this offense is missing, and something that kind of separates the Chiefs and even the Eagles in the NFC. And they've jumped up here to get ahead of the Chargers to select this individual. He's in the top.
Oh my goodness!
He's in the top 15 in my board, and he will not get beyond the Buffalo Bills at 20. We're going to go with Dalton Kincaid out of the University of Utah to give those seams a stretch there in Buffalo. Be the quarterback's best friend come February time when he needs some easy completions over the middle of the field. And I think that adds an absolute element to this option to this offense. Tom, I don't know what you think about it.
Yeah, that's wonderful for them. They've needed this for a while. Absolutely, gives them another dimension, and I think he is the best tight end in the class. And yeah, I would expect him to go somewhere around this range for sure. Just for his ability as a pure, not just forget the fact he's a tight end, just an offensive playmaker. One of the best in the class. So that's a lovely pick for them there, and definitely worth giving up a 3rd round for. I mean, goodness.
Yeah, no, and I there is no way he makes it beyond the Chargers either. So I think the Chargers were a cert there. So
yeah, I'm reviewing my strategy now with the Chargers. Oh no, sorry, you're picking them.
Yeah, I am. Well, so quite interestingly, the Draft Network have Michael Mayer also at 1st round prospective tight end, ranked at 22. So certainly for the Draft Network, that would be a very obvious, just like for like, let's get a run on tight ends going. I'm going to say not so fast on that though, because I only have a sort of mid-2nd round grade on Michael Mayer. And I just don't think the value is there. I think they'll be sick in the draft room that Kincaid is off the board. He's the only legitimate, I think, 1st round tight end in this class. So they are still looking. I'm just going to check the needs before I do something that Chargers fans will be screaming at me for.
Maybe another offensive weapon here for the Chargers.
Well, that's certainly what I'm thinking. It's saying interior defensive line, which is totally legitimate. The Chargers are appalling against the run. Unfortunately for me, my top interior player left on the board would be Mozzie Smith, the big nose tackle from Michigan. I'm not sure you can take a nose tackle 22 in the NFL draft these days. That just doesn't fly for me. So I'm gonna do it for them. I'm gonna get them a weapon, and I'm gonna get them. I don't think he's my wide receiver 3, but I have a feeling the NFL likes him more than I do. I'm going to give them Jordan Addison there to complement the players they already have in that wide receiver room.
That's great. Keep him in state.
Keep him in the state. He doesn't have far to drive over to pick up his pass and stuff like that. He's right on the count. He's right on scene there in LA. And Jordan Addison is a very interesting player, intriguing, you might say. A little bit divisive. I think there are people that have him way, and throughout the process had him way above Njigba. But I feel like Smith-Njigba has kind of come up to be the outright number one, and apparently the league like Njigba more than they like Addison. But Addison is an excellent player. He's a little bit light, as you see, 173 pounds, but we know with the likes of Devonta Smith coming into the league, that isn't everything these days. As Brugler points out there, he's brilliant after the catch. He gets open and catches the football, which is the key thing if he's going to play in the slot in this offense. And he does also have some speed as well to go over the top to give this offense a vertical element that it just doesn't have. Ideally, you'd like someone like more of a Jalen Hyatt, but Hyatt just doesn't have the all-around game to be selected 22 overall for me. So I'm going to take Addison here and be happy about it. Although I think Zay Flowers would also be an excellent option here.
Yeah, I think so. And it makes sense. A team like this that already has these weapons on the outside, taking some of these receivers that are smaller, because he's not going to get the bulk of catches or work that's going to really threaten big injuries, you'd hope anyway, if we're looking at it from the management's perspective. So that makes a lot of sense to me. And I think he finds a natural role there. And again, is one that he may bump out to play the Z eventually, given how things might go there in LA.
Yeah, no, I could see it. He's full of potential. Had an excellent year at Pitt with Kenny Pickett before transferring to USC. Better film, I think, at Pitt than at USC. So you'd be interesting to see which one shows up in LA for the Chargers.
Yeah, true.
So that puts you on the clock with the Ravens, the
All right, so we have a little team needs here. Just want to double check. I'm not
quarterback. Can I be cheeky and say quarterback? Definitely a need. It's definitely a need.
All right, this is perfect then. So cornerback again. I don't think they're the corner you'll take. Receiver, I'm not sure they're. The Ravens haven't got a good history of drafting receivers as of late. So I think we go edge here, and I'm going to give an edge that some people may think is a jumpy up for, but at this stage it's kind of where anyone has him, and you're hovering over him there. It's going to be Will McDonald out of Iowa State.
Yes,
Iowa State players historically overlooked, coming from a very good football program there, and I have no qualms about taking this guy late in the first round as a true pass rusher. I think his production was very good. A lot of TFLs, a lot of sacks last year. Just bring up his stats, that'll be useful. Maybe without the A.
Yeah. Do you want me to do it in the Beast? Actually, if you want his stats from his senior year, I'll have to do it in the Beast. Methinks. This is becoming an issue now. Technical issues here. Please bear with, caller.
That's fine. I mean, we don't need to go labour the point too much. I believe he had about 7 sacks in his senior year there, and as I said, he's from a good football program there in Iowa State, and they have a need edge. So yeah, let's just give him that and move on.
Okay, all right, no problem. Well, yeah, Nolan Smith must be wondering what he's done wrong here. He's been left on the board. Will McDonald going ahead. What I will say about Will McDonald is a very Ravensy type of player. He's very bendy, very athletic, very aggressive off the edge. Kind of player that you want to blitz from weird angles and stuff, and you can disguise him a little bit, drop him into coverage sometimes because he's that athletic. So, to be fair, you can do all those things with Nolan Smith too. But I could actually see that pick happening. So no, I think it's a fun pick by you, and a bit different to what you see in a lot of mock drafts. But I could actually see this happening. He's got some buzz for the end of the first round, Will McDonald. Yeah, interesting. Okay, cool. So Minnesota Vikings on the clock here.
Wow.
I think. Interestingly, oh no, I'm still on. It's because I'm still okay. Blimey, Tom's having a crisis. Interesting. I was just going to give them Deonte Banks here and be happy and pass the. I don't have too much to say on Deonte Banks other than he's an interesting corner with upside in man coverage scheme. But it's telling me wide receiver is a need here. And now that I think about it, they've just lost Adam Thielen. And
I can see them go with the big man here.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson needs a running mate. Yeah. Justin Jefferson needs a running mate. And I've heard constantly that the league likes Quentin Johnston more than draft media like Quentin Johnston. Right. And even though he's only a second round grade for me, he's the pick here. And actually, if he was going to land somewhere, I actually think this would be a good spot for him to land. He doesn't have to be, even though he's a big man, as you say, 6'2", 200 pounds, and an athletic freak as well, jumped out of the gym at the combine. He doesn't play like that. He's not a down the field attack the football. The ball skills are not what you'd expect. He's more of a get it in the hands gadget man on reverses, I think, in the NFL, on drag routes, on quick slants, on screens, on bubbles. And you can give him, as well as some work from the slot, you can give him all of that in this offense because Jefferson just eats targets on the outside. It would allow him to come on and maybe try and develop that down the field skill set that he's going to need to be a successful outside receiver in the NFL, and learn some releases and some technique from Justin Jefferson. What do you think?
Absolutely, I love that pick. Totally agree with you. How that's going to work out for them. They need to go receiver there, I think. And I agree. I think people are higher on this guy than some people may be. So I think it's a natural move there for them. Good pick.
Cool, nice one. All right, you're on with the Jags.
The Jaguares. So we go to team needs. I'm having to look at a lot of these team needs now because I know what I want to do, but I just want to double check. There's nothing glaring.
Oh, it's so tough down here to know because you're not always going to get. There's no way we're going to get any of these right. Let's be clear.
No.
These are all just what the team needs are and what we would do in that situation. You can't. These are all lottery tickets down here.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go defense with the Jags because I feel like position need tight end. The lad did very well for them. His best year as a pro last year, Evan Ingram. Wide receiver as well. They've sorted all that out in free agency last year. So it's going to be a defensive position. Edge. They've got 2 edge rushers. I'm very tempted here. Where go mid linebacker, linebacker in general. Let's see where some of these guys are ranked because I feel like Drew Sanders could be a consideration here, but I think the Jags know better and they know they might be able to get a similar player in the second round. So I'm going to give him Elijah Clancy here, Mike, on the interior defensive line.
Oh my goodness, Elijah!
Let's go hunting in Jacksonville here.
Duval. That's good.
Yeah, that's gonna. There's a really dynamic defensive line they're building here, and he's going to really add to that a lot. Undersized, but they have a huge man. I forget his name now. Who he can play with there and let those guys on the edge go to work as well. So he's highly rated, superbly strong and extremely low gravity frame here from Kansas City. I think he's just a nice little. Let's be honest, he's a luxury pick at this stage for the Jags.
Look at this. God, you can't see he ran the fastest 40 time of any DT at the combine. He ran a 6.82 on the 3 code and 4.33 in the shoot.
My word.
Elijah
I mean, as I said, it's a luxury pick, so just give him the player who could impact the game the most, and I think that's where we are right now.
Elijah Cansey could go anywhere for me from like 15 to 50 because we just don't know. We just don't know what the NFL thinks of him.
Yeah,
he is people tried to make him Aaron Donald. I think I even referenced Aaron Donald when discussing him. But the more I've seen and heard about Cunsey, the more I have pause for concern in that his arms are incredibly short. He's like a T-Rex of 30-inch arms there, which is a good 3 inches less. I think I read a stat there. He'd have the smallest wingspan of any defensive lineman in the NFL when he's drafted.
Okay. Yeah.
So you have to have a very specific role for him, and that's the negative. On the positive side, I agree with you. All he has to be is a quarterback hunter for the Jags on third down. And if that's all he ever is for you, and he gets you 5 or 6 sacks a season with a couple of those coming in the postseason, he's worth the pick, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so. As I said, that defensive line's pretty well stocked at the moment. So it's almost like an Eagles methodology. We'll just keep adding in rotation guys who can contribute.
Yeah. No, I like it. And obviously Doug Peterson will be well aware of that coming from Philadelphia. That's always been the philosophy.
Yeah.
And I think he would look to continue that, certainly. In that vein, I think he would have considered Nolan Smith here. I think there at 25. I think the Giants can't really believe he's on the board still. So I think they would be looking at it, but they can't. What they really can't believe, to be honest, is that Broderick Jones is still on the board. The tackle from Georgia, who I don't think I looked at. Oh, blimey, I'm dropping things my end. I haven't seen a mock draft in the last couple of weeks where he hasn't gone 13 to the Jets. It feels like that's absolutely nailed on. So we'll send him to New York anyway. He's got his bags packed, headed for the Big Apple. We'll send him to New York. I'll be honest with you, I don't know what that necessarily means. Oh no, I did 2 picks. How do I undo a pick? Oh, just like that. Okay, good. That was close. So anyway, Broderick Jones goes to the New York Giants. I'll be honest with you, as I was going to say, I don't think that I necessarily know how that offensive line will shape up now. I know they've got Andrews playing at left tackle, also a former Georgia lineman, so you'd probably put them at bookends to help Daniel Jones there and look to kick somebody else inside. All I know is you know that the offensive line has been a perennial weakness for the New York Giants. And you're coming up against the Philadelphia Eagles twice a year, the Washington Commanders twice a year, and Dexter Lawrence for the Dallas Cowboys. You've got to have more on the offensive line than they've had in the last 5 years. I think they know that. They've got a much smarter front office and coaching staff in place now. So I think that's just a very logical pick and an unbelievable value for the Giants for just patience has paid off for them here, sitting and picking.
Yeah, that's really good. Really nicely there. Okay, so I've got the Cowboys now. This is, yeah. I mean, at this stage of the draft, it could be anything, but in this late first round, it's really just how teams value players. So let's have a look at their needs here.
Oh dear, no, I did. I accidentally selected Brian Bresee for you here, but it doesn't matter. Right. It doesn't matter. We'll sort of just synthesize a pick here for the good people at home. So do you want to see? You could give them Brian Bresee if you want. I've seen him.
Well, go to team needs. Let's see what they need.
Sorry, that was real user error my side here.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Cowboys draft Jahmyr Gibbs here at the end of the first round. It would be a very Cowboys move. I was going to do that. Well, maybe I was going to do that. Yeah.
You know what I've heard? I've heard a lot is from various different sources, like podcasts and the NFL Network, etc., that Michael Mayer doesn't make it past the Dallas Cowboys at 20. Which makes.
I mean, that's true, but they have so many tight ends. They give them a lot of production.
Schultz is gone. Schultz is gone.
Yeah. Okay.
Schultz went in free agency. Look, I mean,
they had 4 tight ends that they use on a rotation, so I don't know. It doesn't make sense totally to me. I don't know. I really don't know. I'll probably just give them Jahmyr Gibbs just because it's the Cowboys, and they could probably. I don't know. They just seem like a team who would draft the second running back in the first round just because the Cowboys.
I think Gibbs is spelled like that, isn't it? or is it just like you'd expect? I can't remember now.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
No, it is Gibbo.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I absolutely agree with you. The Dallas Cowboys are like to hell with positional value. We just pick players that we like.
Yeah.
They've picked more inside linebackers in the first round than I've had hot dinners. They, luckily for them, they picked a mid linebacker in Micah Parsons, who ended up becoming one of the elite edge rushers in the NFL. So
Yeah.
they completely lucked out on that one.
Yeah.
I think the pick here would be somebody like Gibbs, or it'll be something to help Prescott, I think, on the offense. And if it's a tight end or if it's a running back, I wouldn't be surprised either way, because they just
receiver even as well, maybe.
Sorry, say again.
Get another receiver as well, maybe.
Yeah. Zay Flowers wouldn't surprise me here either, or Jalen Addison if he's still on the board. So, no, absolutely, I can see it. I don't think they'll do the unsexy thing and take a trench player, which is probably what my instinct would be as a general manager here. I think they'll try and do something sexy to sell season tickets.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you have the Seahawks again here, Mike. So I think you've got the chance to draft them a perfect player.
Well, yeah, I mean, we traded down. You traded down, so I still think it's you, Tom, on the clock.
Oh, yeah, okay. So I'll do two in a row then. All right.
2 in a row, yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, just based on that, I'll give them. Let's have a look at team needs. Seattle Seahawks team needs, because I had a good fit for them.
This is the kind of range, by the way. I've seen in my mind, I've had this scenario, and I've seen it on a mock somewhere that trade back and draft Hendon Hooker in this sort of range for the Seahawks.
Yeah, it could be for sure.
Obviously, they can't do that in this scenario, but I have seen that just to add another layer to this whole thing. So here's your overall board, Tom. What is really confusing is how low they have Smith. That is just obviously you can't draft Jahmyr Gibbs because of a technical hiccup on my end. The ball's up.
Yeah, that's all right. So I think tight end. I'm tempted here, but I think who were you going to give him? Nolan Smith.
I just think he's a Bruce Irvin clone, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean,
their needs edge, so I think just do that. I had a guard maybe going to them there.
Okay, but that's fun because they had 2 tackles last year. The Cross and Abraham. They've got their bookend tackles, and then you plug a guard in there. Were you thinking Osiris Torrance or?
I was, Osiris Torrance, to help road grade for them.
I like that. Don't.
Yeah, all right, do that then.
Don't let me put you off. Let's have Osiris Torrance. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay. Thank goodness. I thought the Draft Network didn't even have him in the top 100 there. I was going to absolutely lose my mind at that. Okay.
No, a man his size is going to be on our radar any day, Mike. Just a huge man there playing guard, and that makes that offensive line really fun now up in Seattle.
That's going to be an easy name for me to find in this. O' should bring up Osiris Torrance, and it does. 6'5", 330 pounds. That is a Jinx Matthews offensive lineman if I ever saw one. Him and along with Stephen Avila, who may also sneak into the back end of this. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Just a huge man, very strong, and he's able to reset really nicely as well. I watched some film of him where he was getting beaten initially, but just that staunch base came in, he came under and reset really well. So I think that there's no concerns about his pass protection at all. And as we said, he's going to pave the ground for Kenneth Walker and whoever else is toting the rock there, and just keep loading up on that offense.
Yeah, no, I think I heard from a local beat writer that covers the Florida Gators, said he only gave up, I think PFF only had him giving up 4 pressures in the passing game last year. So he's a very talented interior blocker. I think he struggles with speed inside a little bit at the Senior Bowl. I think he got a little bit worked by some speedy interior rushes. So like anybody that's not basically in the top 10 of the draft, he's got things to work on. Albeit, but his anchor is there. He's not going to get bowled over by anybody. And yeah, as you say, they're gonna pound the football there in Seattle. So I think that's a great fit. Not something I'd considered for them in our prep work, but I really love the pick. I'm glad you stuck to your guns there. That's a great.
No. Oh, I'm going to go again here with the Bengals.
Yeah, you're 3 in a row for the second time this evening. Lucky man. So yeah, you're on here with the Bengals.
Well, there's a big need here for the Bengals, and I think they're looking at this and thinking, wow, there's not much more value in the offensive line, so we're going to go offensive skill position and just keep pounding this offense here, making this offense dynamic. I'm going to give him Darnell Washington from Georgia here to come in. Yeah. First of all, we can help with the blocking, which would be very useful for them because that's always a concern. But also, I think he's about as good as Mayer as a pass catcher, to be honest. I think he's a legitimate first round prospect for me after going through this process with Washington. And I'd have him ahead of behind Kincaid, but ahead of Mayer. I think he's going to be someone who can work the middle really well, and then also just absolutely get involved in the ground game and pave the road for him there.
Yeah, I forgot there were 2 Darnells in the top 300. I was like, what's happening? Yeah, so Darnell Washington, it's the size, the ability to stretch the seam. We mentioned it, and the blocking, pro style blocking. It's kind of, they've got that zone running game in place in Cincinnati. It's a little bit LA Ramsey, a little bit Green Bay Packerish, and he'll just be absolutely crease people on the edge there, and then stretch the seams up the middle of the field. If you put him out there with Chase and Higgins, I don't know how you stop that really. It's pretty unstoppable. That's assuming that Washington can continue to ascend as a pass catcher, because even though he's got the raw tools more than Mayer and the size, he does need to finesse his route running and stuff. But stuff.
That's the same with all tight ends really coming into the league. He'll need some time. I think you could see him go in the second round, but I just love the guy so much, and I think NFL teams really fall in love with him.
Yeah, well, look, he's a 500 to 750 yard per season man. He's Jason Witten. And that's all Michael Mayer is going to be at the next level, except this guy can block, really block. Yeah. Like, he can block defense. Michael Mayer can block linebackers, kind of, like half a linebacker. Darnell Washington can block a defensive end. So it's a different thing, let's be clear. Michael Mayer is so overrated. Anyway.
All right, here you go, Mike. Got the Saints. Who'd want this one?
Saints. We find our New Orleans Saints marching in here.
No.
Oh dear, of course there is. There we go. Oh goodness. It's always been a long day, Tom. The New Orleans Saints have an app that normally what they do is they get overly aggressive, trade up for a particular player that fills a need. And then that either hits like it did a few years ago where they hit on like all 5 of their picks. I'm thinking of that like Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas class that was like freakish when they hit on all of their picks in one draft. And more recently, they've like busted on every pick. Sitting and waiting for them here has really paid off. Their biggest team need is edge. And to me, they've got my number 3 edge player at number 30 overall. Well, he's up there with Murphy as the number 3, but we're going to give them Nolan Smith here. We're going to stop the slide for the young man. If I can even find the edge category in this jumble here. Here he is, Nolan Smith. So, Nolan Smith is a little bit of a tweener. He's kind of more, he's very much a Sam linebacker rather than a out-and-out 4-3 defensive end, which maybe the Saints would be looking for ideally. However, so you can see that there. So he's 6'2", 238 pounds, so a little light. He's an elite tester. He absolutely he worked out like a maniac in Indianapolis. He is a phenomenal leader from everything that we've heard from Georgia. He's literally the captain, the lifeblood of that defense, that 2-time championship winning defense. The alpha in the room. So there's so much to like about him. But the size is an issue. Is he maybe just a sub-package contributor? Can you get him to play on first down in some way, like a Hassan Reddick, just playing on the outside, head up on the tight end maybe? I don't know. You'll have to work it out. But I know that he can drop in coverage and he can rush the passer. Worth more than his weight in gold here at pick number 30 for the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, really good value there for them. And I think even if he is a sub-package guy, if you have a starting sub-package guy at the end of the first round, that's a win for an organization. So yeah, that's a lovely one there.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, right. Well, that brings you to the Philadelphia Eagles, the second first round pick. I'm going to do a very cursory look at the overall board here. Just to see what's available, just to check I'm not missing anything really, really obvious. Don't think, get a fullback here and Hunter Lupique, North Dakota State. I'm actually going to have to look up Hunter. I'd never even heard of him before this, so I'm going to look him up afterwards. So no, I'm pretty sure my mind's made up. The Eagles are going to be trading down here. We're gonna sort of find a trade partner on the fly here. Try not to take too long about it. I think if the Eagles can pick up an extra third round pick in this year's draft, or fourth rounder, they just move down. And don't make
maybe the Browns get on the horn here.
Yeah. The Cleveland Browns could potentially swing up. I'm trying to think if there would be anybody that would. The quarterback. I was really hoping a quarterback would still be on the board here, so someone might come in and try and snare a quarterback. But you know what I actually think might happen is I think somebody might make a bit of a move and potentially come up and have a little goosey gander at Michael Mayer here.
I knew you were going to say that.
But who would it be?
And I think the Browns would do that.
They've got so many tight ends already. They've got so many tight ends.
No, you're right. Then yeah, sorry, joking. Yeah.
Oh dear. No, I don't know if this is going to work because I can't think who's got the draft capital just to throw it away and come up for a non-quarterback here. I had quarterback teams in my mind that would do this. I'm thinking Vikings and Seahawks, but no, I think I better pick a player here. Just because I can't formulate a trade in the amount of time that it would just take too long. So the Philadelphia Eagles, I think they've had a bit of depletion on the back end of their defense. As I said before, I think they would have taken Nolan Smith if he was still on the board. Goodness, absolutely would have done that. Team him up with his Georgia teammates Davis and Nakobe Dean there. But as he's gone, I think they would take the best defensive back on their board, who I believe would be Deonte Banks, even though he is lower in this list than some others. And the reason that he's on ahead of the likes of Keely Ringo, Emmanuel Forbes. Emmanuel Forbes is only 166 pounds. I just don't think you can drop the corner who's that slight in the first round. I think he'll be going.
It wasn't the best for me either.
No, and the tackling is an issue. I don't think he fits what the Eagles want in a cornerback. Although he has done a pre-draft visit for them, so maybe lower down on the board they might look to take him. Keely Ringo is just too much of a straight line player for me. I'm not sure he moves well enough to play in the slot, which with Bradbury and Slay coming back for the Eagles, I think it's a certainty this player will have to play a fair amount in the slot next season. So I think overall, I think that's the pick, and I think the Eagles are pretty happy with how they did here on the first day of the draft.
That's nice. Yeah, really filling the need there well. So that makes perfect sense to me.
That brings us home on with the the defending world champion Kansas City Chiefs. It still hurts me to say that. You are officially on the clock. Here you go. I'll press the button. Talk us through it.
The crowd go wild in Kansas City. Put the hometown team here in the draft. My word. And you know, I think maybe we go in mid linebacker here and get the boy a running mate here. So Trent, it would be. I thought the Arkansas. Oh yeah, sorry, Drew Sterries. I think that's probably what they're going to do. But for the sake of this, I'm just going to, I don't know, give the crowd in Kansas City something to cheer for here, and load up, mount up the percolators on the offense. So I'm going to go wide receiver here at the end of the first round. Just get Mahomes another weapon, and it's going to be Jalen Hyatt, the speedster.
I knew it. I knew it.
You do it. You do it. It's a real Tom Matthews pick here, but yeah, that's just what I enjoy. I think obviously we need someone to take the top off. Sky Moore hasn't panned out. I didn't like the pick anyway. I think Hyatt's actually a much better pick. So why not just go for it? But I think it's probably going to be a defensive pick. That's what the Chiefs did last year, and it paid off. But I don't know, for the sake of this, I'd love to see Hyatt on this offense.
I'd love to see it as well. I mean, you could just do formation into the boundary with Kelsey and everybody else on one side, and you just leave all of that space on the other side. Hyatt over there by himself, and just say, you know what you did at Tennessee, running deep choice routes. Just literally run down and just run to space, and Mahomes will just throw it up to you. And I can see.
I know, the crazy thing was often Hooker underthrew a lot of balls to him.
He's not going to have that problem in KC.
Oh goodness, yeah. That'd be a
flying machine in Jalen Hyatt. That absolute flying machine. I love it.
Yeah.
I think they'd look at Brian Bresee here as well, defensive line potentially. But yeah, as this fell, you had no good edges really that I consider worthy of the name really. But yeah. I think looking at this in review, I'm pretty pleased with it. Obviously, we could be massively wrong about. I could be hugely out of touch here with this CJ Stroud thing. This will look very different if CJ Stroud doesn't get taken.
Oh yeah.
The Vegas Raiders would most probably come up still for Stroud, and then you would have Then you'd have the Colts looking at Richardson and Levis. I think they take Richardson, but they might take Levis. It's a funny one. So
I feel like they would take Richardson. Yeah.
What do you think your I'm just sort of scrolling through slowly here. What do you think your sort of pick of the draft was? If you had a favorite, maybe just from your picks, or I guess from any of them.
I think the one probably was Hooker to the Titans. I just see that as something that could actually happen. But I also like Elijah Clancy to the Jags there. I think that's I was quite happy with myself for coming out with that. Let's say that. As far as your ones go, I think the opening pick there of Gonzalez going to Atlanta is a really solid pick there. I can absolutely see that one happening. And then, I like what you did with the Eagles as well, trading out for Will Anderson, because again, that's not something I entertain, but I could absolutely see that being nailed on. And actually, I liked you picking Witherspoon there as well as the Lions, because that's it's just fit wise, that's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, that's chalk, isn't it? That's chalk.
Yeah,
and I think. I smiled to myself earlier when I penciled him in there at number 6 when I was sort of running through it, because I knew that would absolutely light you up like a Christmas tree. Devin Witherspoon. Thomas Matthews is the biggest Devin Witherspoon owner in the entire.
I really I would have been dismayed if it had been Gonzalez there. Like, all these mocks them really. Oh goodness. They're a better player, and we judged the cornerbacks pretty well last year. We were right in terms of our rankings last year. Let's just say that. So,
it's a good position, like us, who are obviously a lot more amateur than some of the people that evaluate the draft. They're out there on an island, and you can really get a chance to look at their technique and stuff like that. So I feel like even passive viewers like us at home. Well, no, we're not. Yeah. We're fairly keen observers, but even the likes of us can get a good tell on a cornerback, I think, and we've got a feel for what we like. So I'm with you. I think Devin Witherspoon is a can't miss, won't bust prospect, but I could be wrong on that. And God knows we have been in the past. But I think for me, Will Anderson and Jalen Carter, the only two that the Eagles would trade up for. And if they did that, they would definitely trade back 31. They wouldn't pick a player then. If they did that, they want to make draft capital back. I loved Hendon Hooker from you. That really made me smile. That was great. That was hilarious. And there was also there was one in these middle rounds here that I really liked as well. I enjoyed. I'd not thought about this before, and it's suddenly
the Bills. That's a really good trade. Yeah.
Yeah, I can actually see them doing this because they'll be worried about him coming off there to the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, I had him penciled in there to the Chargers, absolutely kind of in permanent marker almost. So I think that's nice to snap it from an AFC rival. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
you know what I really liked? I really liked Osiris Torrance. Because I think he's going to be a first-round player, but I just didn't know where he fit. And that's a really good fit. That offensive line would be terrifying. Do you remember how bad it was during the Wilson years? And it's gone from one end to the other, where their defensive line is kind of slightly suspect, but their offensive line will be almost the envy of most of them. I mean, probably then.
Well, I like that. They were ridiculed for taking Charles Cross last year, but that panned out beautifully.
I had concerns about Charles Cross because I thought he was a finesse player. And as it turns out, they threw the ball more than I expected, and it worked out for them. So you don't know, do you? You don't know until you see how these guys are deployed. But yeah, very satisfying that Michael Mayer didn't find his way into the top 32 as well. I think.
Well, it was us two doing it, so you knew that was going to happen.
Well, look, nobody else. I don't think I've seen that mocked, so I think that's great. I think that's fun.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, look, we better sign off. We've been at this thing for 2 hours now, so we'll wish the people a fond farewell, and we'll be keenly watching the draft, and I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll post the results on Twitter. How about that?
Good man.
Have some fun with it.
And we'll be back after the draft, won't we? I think for a wrap up. I think it's only right. We sum up what happens next week. But until then, adios, amigo.
Go well.
Go well.